There are 71 days left until the American people will make a decision that will chart the destiny of the nation for the balance of the 21st century between Vice President Kamala Harris and convicted felon Donald Trump. This is The Warning. Today, Monday, the first one after the convention, America's greatest pig, Trump, will visit America's most hallowed ground, Arlington National Cemetery, to desecrate the last full measure of devotion given by those buried there for rank partisan political purposes. Trump will start his day on America's most sacred ground, doing photo ops at the grave sites of the American soldiers killed during the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. Next, he will give a partisan speech trying to blame Vice President Harris for what occurred on President Biden's watch. It is contemptible. Behind me is the Adriatic Sea. There's something that every American should know about their country that is unique in all of history. On the day that the Second World War was won, graves registration details by the hundreds fanned out across the European battlefields, all over the world, the Philippines, Okinawa, wherever Americans fought and died, the grave registration details went to recover the bodies. And their families were given a choice. Should those bodies come home, or would they be buried in American military cemeteries abroad? Those ships bringing America's war dead started coming home in 1946 and 1947. They were called the ghost ships. They carried tens and tens of thousands of American caskets. In Belgium, much of the nation came out of respect to bid the ghost ships farewell. But across Europe, there are American military cemeteries. Colin Powell described the meaning of these cemeteries. The United States is not an imperial power. We have never conquered another nation for the sake of seizing their territory, because the United States is a liberating nation, and the only territory overseas that we ever asked for was enough to bury our dead. These places in Normandy, in Belgium, hold the bodies of America's fallen in perfect symmetry, an American army at permanent rest. Donald Trump has repeatedly desecrated this sacrifice. He stood in Arlington National Cemetery, according to the Associated Press, Fox News, the Atlantic Magazine, the Washington Post, and the New York Times, turned to his White House chief of staff, General John Kelly, a Gold Star father whose son was killed in combat in Afghanistan, and said he didn't understand the sacrifice. Why did they do it? He called America's war dead suckers and losers. And later, General Mark Milley, perhaps most disturbingly of all, told the story of Donald Trump reacting to a severely wounded service member, Captain Avila, singing the national anthem at General Milley's installation ceremony as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Trump came up to him and said, "Nobody wants to see that. It's disgraceful." Harry Truman had a sign on his desk. It said, "The buck stops here." Afghanistan was America's longest war. It was fought over 4 presidential administrations, 2 Republican, 2 Democratic. President Bush, President Obama, Trump, and President Biden were all wartime presidents because of America's longest war, started by President Bush. This 20-year-long war was a strategic failure. What it shows is it's much easier to start wars than to end them. The goals of this war were always absurd. They were not realistic. A mission to kill the terrorists who attacked us became a great project in democracy building at tremendous financial cost, $1 trillion, the blood of so many thousands of Americans. And the simple truth is, the lessons that have been learned did not need to be learned, because they should have been learned from the Vietnam War. This was an unwinnable war that has done profound moral injury to the men and women who fought in it. And that's why, in part, there is such a suicide epidemic. Donald Trump is behind. He's flailing. He's losing. He doesn't seem to understand he's not running against Joe Biden anymore. He's running against the vice president, who doesn't sit at the head of the table when it comes to commander-in-chief decisions. It's not a committee job. The president is a singular job. And so Trump's attacks won't work. But the fact that he feels comfortable enough to go to Arlington to engage in politics is an assault on the flag, on the institutions of the armed forces, on our sacred war dead, and on decency itself. It's disgusting. During these next weeks, the unhinged Trump will become more and more and more unhinged. He will grow angry. He will grow increasingly unstable. He will become unhinged to a degree we haven't seen before. He will not concede the election that he's going to lose. He's going to try to put the country into chaos again. This test ahead for all of us doesn't end in 71 days. Rather, it begins. The period between 71 days from now and January 6th has the potential to be tumultuous and dangerous. The American people need to cancel this boring, old, sick show. It's enough. There's an opportunity to get out of the circling of the drain. There's an opportunity to move forward. Let's take it, America. See what you see today from Arlington National Cemetery. And if it doesn't make you sick, you don't understand, that's wrong. Shame on you too. This is The Warning. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning. And I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.